NFL is doing something that's pretty unprecedented right now. We are seeing a turnover at one particular position that is truly unprecedented. We have the safety position has absolutely been ravaged this offseason. And really, as teams are jockeying for position and trying to clear up salary cap space, you have got now $103,250,000 in salary cap space saved by the release of safeties alone across the National Football League. That's 9 figures, dude.
Goodness.
9 figures. To put that in perspective, the next closest is corner, $64 million. So they have outpaced that by $40 million in money saved on NFL franchises at one position, safety.
The volume money-wise is substantially high. I wonder how that stacks up to the volume of total players.
Of just getting released?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not...
How different is this from average?
The money is a really high number, but also what's a crazy high number is the talent that is being gone. Because if you look at it, the players that have been released account for 14 Pro Bowls and 5 first-team All-Pro selections. Like, you have guys like, whether it's Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos, who is technically a 4-time All-Pro. Mm-hmm. He hasn't been All-Pro, first-team All-Pro all 4 of those times. Same with the guys like Jordan Poyer, mm-hmm. right? You're just talking 5 first-team All-Pros have just been deuces. See you later. We're going to be out.
I believe between Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs alone, you had 6 of those Pro Bowls.
Yeah. You've got the big names that are out there: Justin Simmons, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Jordan Poyer, Darnell Savage, Micah Hyde, Kevin Byard, Eddie Jackson. And then those are like the established guys. You also have some younger talented guys like Kyle Duggar, who's out there and was released, where they got a lot of miles ahead of them in their career. It's not just guys that are old, have turned the corner, and are just salary dumps for production reasons. You have highly productive safeties that are out there, and I would love to see what the reasoning behind it is, because the safety position is so important in setting the back end of your defense, and that communication that they have with the linebacking core and their ability for run support and pass support. But I think like you can just kind of boil it down to a couple of things that are pretty easy on the surface, but it's a big risk. One, you got a deep draft. Yeah, this draft is deep in a lot of positions. The safety position, this is a signal that the league values the young talent that's coming into the league.
Yes, but the flip side of that is, how many really young safeties do we see be very successful?
I think you can pop soon at the safety position, because in the back end of the defense, it is a lot easier because the physicality isn't as much as, a defensive lineman or, a linebacker.
Sure.
But at the same time,
those are typically older positions.
Your coverage is a lot easier.
But you typically do have somebody older back there, because that's kind of quarterbacking the back end of your defense. And so,
for sure,
this is a little bit of a weird thing, is that more often than not, you have your athletes on the edges in your corners, and you typically have your athletes, in the linebacker spot, but there's usually one older linebacker and usually one older safety.
And this is where I think teams are going to kill. Like, this is where teams that are good will get great in the back end of their defense by the short-term deals, guys that can bolster. I also think a big part of it, too, is we've heard a lot of quarterbacks say that defenses have been capping in the back end, which means you have 2 high safety looks. And so having the one free to kind of have to roam back and forth and cover substantially more ground, that is condensing down a little bit more. And so maybe you're seeing like a recalibration of value there as you use more 2 high safety looks. But the safety position as a whole coming into the league, I think that also helps that you can plug in a younger guy back there if you are running more two high safety looks to where you can kind of mix and match your vet with your young guy. Also, it's just a lot of these teams are in salary cap hell, like the Buffalo Bills, right?
And so that's why. And then there's also the teams that are in salary cap hell that made very bad choices, i.e., the Denver Broncos. And this is the churn that the NFL wants. And what's going to happen is, if you're going to go full math nerd on it, every position is slotted, pay scale wise, value wise. And you're not going to start letting the quarterbacks go, the wide receivers go, the pass rushers go, the corners go. You're going to start at the bottom in the value propositions. That's running backs. What can you get on the market that has replacement level value for significantly cheaper? Running backs.
Yeah.
Are cornerbacks cheap? No. Safeties cheaper? Yeah.
You could see upwards of 9 safeties go in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
And it's not even just in the draft, but even in free agency. Like if you can go, if there's all of a sudden there's a large amount of them on the market, there's this influx of safeties in the market, what does that do? It depresses it further.
Absolutely.
So you start just kind of working your way up those value slot boards, and then those will change each year based on the incoming draft prospects. So there's always kind of matching that up, and that's part of the evaluation process. And that is part of your general manager process, is understanding not only what the draft class is going to look like this year, but what the draft class is going to look like the year after. So hey, we need a safety, but we really only need one for a year. Like, even if, no matter where we're picking next year, there's 14 safeties in this draft. We think we can get one day 1, day 2, day 3. Somebody who's viable based on this class. Or, hey, let's take a look around the league. Wow, there's a lot of books that are going sideways. Who are going to be the cap casualties? And teams know. Teams, this whole idea of make sure it's all state secrets. We need to protect what we're going to do with our roster. Other GMs can look at your roster and go, he's cutting him.
And look, from the business side of it too, you see when the first dominoes fall, we do have the position group. They'll flood that market and be like, all right, look, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, they both hit the market. Jordan Poyer hits the market. That's when every other domino starts to fall, which is we flood the market, suppress the value of them in the free agent pool, and then we can get either them on the cheap in free agency or in the cheap via the draft.
And then it drives that market down even further.
It's the business side of it, but seeing $100 million in cap space cleared up at one position alone,
especially with,
and look, we're not done yet.
No,
we're not done yet.
No, we're gonna get till Sunday night, and there's still gonna be.
And Justin Simmons is a guy, since he came into the league, he leads the NFL in interceptions. He has 30 interceptions since 2016. Yeah. He's got a lot of talent left.
This isn't long in the tooth dudes. This isn't like they're past their prime. Like, there are very impactful players. Do they have a lot left in the tank?
Yeah, some guys that are older, but you got miles on them. And that's why you can get from good to great in the back end of your defense on great teams. That's the thing. Like teams like Kansas City,
yes,
they are going to benefit tremendously from this.
If you're a team that's competing for a Super Bowl next year, and all of a sudden you have a 1-year opportunity at Simmons, at Poyer, at Byard, are you saying no?
I don't think you are.
To me, so.
I don't think you are. But then again, I mean, they're kind of good with Justin Reed.
No, I'm saying that's just the Chiefs. But if you're a Super Bowl contending team,
go ahead and up the ante a little bit. Get better in that back end. It's a fascinating turn of events that we're seeing at one position in particular, because everybody talks about quarterback. And if you're wondering, due to release, how much cash has been saved, $6 million at quarterback this year.
Like I said, it's all slot.
You do not let your quarterback go. We all know that. It's rare that you see a guy like Russell Wilson. And by the way, you're like, well, Russ got released. Well, we have a lot of, $85 million in dead cap that's going to be hit. They're not taking the savings. They're taking actually a hit in the pocketbook at that position. But the safety position, $103 million. Goodness gracious.
This is moneyballing football.
Nine
That's what
figures.
This is. They found another leverage point.